When I get a guitar, the first thing I do is set it up to play like my favorite guitar. In this video, I'm going to talk about setting up the action and the neck relief for the guitar, and I'm going about it slightly differently from a lot of the videos I've seen, and I'll talk through these steps. Some of the neck relief discussions I've seen really look at just the relationship of like fretting the first fret with a capo, and then at some point down the neck, maybe around the 16th fret or something, pushing down with your finger and then putting your feeler gauge underneath to look at what that relief is. But I'd argue that it's really the nut and the bridge and the relief all have to work together. And so I'm going to draw that out a little bit and talk about how I do it. I'm going to draw a neck. Here's a nut. Let's just say this is the neck and this is the bridge right here. So let's draw a really big nut. So if the nut's like that and the bridge is like that and it's going across, this nut is really going to affect most of the fretting during a good part of the front end of the string. So if you're going to put a capo right here to hold the string, you're going to discount that downward pull. So when you take that off, your relief is going to be off. So my argument is that you need to make sure that the height of your nut is right first. And I would get rid of this whole capo thing on this side altogether because it discounts that. So if the string was high and you capoed it, you'd be looking at something like this and looking at whatever this relief would be in here. But if your nut, which is truly what you're working with at the end, is too high like this and you've capoed it, you're going to be fighting the tension all the way here, and the relief is just going to be kind of a distract. I mean, it's really not going to show you what you're playing with when you're done. So I'd argue against the capoing the first fret. So first thing I do is measure the height between the nut and the string. And I talked about my feeler gauges. Here's your string. I put my string underneath here and try to figure out my feeler gauge string under here and just go until I can start to rub. I'm about 20 thou is what I'm looking for. So the big problem is if this nut isn't right, the height of that nut isn't right, no matter what you do, it's going to be, you're going to be hard to get good action. So you want the nut to be high enough that you're clearing the first couple of frets without buzzing, but low enough that you don't have this issue with it coming down too far. After I do that, I do look at the relationship between the 12th fret and the bridge. So I capo the 12th fret, and I start looking at the measurement or the height between the bridge and the string. This part of the neck really is pretty well attached. So the distance between here and here is really going to be about your action. So what you do is, adjust the action so that I'm a low to an area, to a level that I like where it's not going to buzz. And then I'm going to go up and I'm going to let go of this and I'll look at the relief based on the frets that are in the middle. So ideally, the first thing I'll do is I measure that. If this is not right, then you got to do something to get that. So we've got that locked in. We know our action is pretty good. Now it's time to take the capo off. And then we're going to measure the bow across the string. So the string's a straight line. And either the neck is going to go bowing up, or it'll be straight with it, or it'll bow down. So in my case, I was bowing up a little bit, so I was starting to, I was bowing this way a little bit, so I had a gap here that wasn't good. So I ended up needing to tighten it so that I could straighten the neck out more to get it in line with that. So again, I'm giving up on the capo. We assume we've got that where we want it. We've got our action at the tail end where we want it, so you've taken care of the tail end of it. Now I'm looking at what's happening from about the 12th fret or so forward, but even to see that, I just take everything off and I go after that. So then I get the feeler gauge and I'm running underneath that until I bring that bow up to the point where I was sitting at about, let's see, where was I? 055 at the 7th fret. With the string free floating. That made it play really close to the other one that I had. Then I went back and did some fine tuning on the action of the top part of the neck to get it to play where it was not buzzing but felt good. And at the tail end of that, it was working really nicely. Now I'll do a quick run through on the guitar so you can kind of see a little bit about what I'm talking about from the drawing. So first thing I'll do is look at the first fret, and there's really not much you can do about the first fret. On my Ibanez that I liked, this is my 16. On my Ibanez, I was just kind of touching on the 16. So it was right around 16th thou. This one I can easily glide over it. So it's more than 16. My next gauge is my 24, and it starts to hit at 24. So it's definitely between 16 and 24. So for me, I'm going to say not much I can do about it. Going to have to live with that. Now I'm going to go look at the relationship from the tail end from the 12th fret to the bridge and look at the action. I've clamped it at the 12th fret. I'm looking at the action on the top end of the neck, and we've got a pretty constant radius with this Floyd Rose. So I'll be taking measurements with my guitar string feeler gauges. I think I just took you guys about, and the 21st fret. So I'm looking for with my 1/1 gauge to come out just to the 21st fret, and this string is just clearing. If I go back a little bit, it starts to make that sound. Right there, I'm clear. Same thing on the other side, but I'm going with the 042. Go around to the other side. Actually, the vision, that's kind of dark here, but the same idea. Go around here to the 042 is good. So now I've got a constant with the capo 12th fret all the way back to the bridge. I know what I want the action to be. So the next thing I'll be able to look at is the relief, is that what's going to happen from the 12th fret back to the nut. This is my 55055 feeler gauge, and I'm using that to check the relief at the 7th fret. So what I'm looking to do is, again, no capo. I've already set my action in the back half. I'm setting the relief right around 7 is where the 7th fret is where things should start to even out, to show you the true relief. So I'm 55, I'm still hitting there, and I'm starting to clear there. Right there, I'm starting to clear. So I've got the relief set so that matches my other guitar. In summary, what I'd say again, it's the relief really needs to be taken into account with the whole picture. You've got your nut, you've got your bridge, and you have your relief. So you got to get the nut right, you got to get the action right, and then you can set your relief for the way it plays when it's really being played. And that's when you're going to do your truss rod adjustment. And it doesn't take much. I know, like when I was in the ballpark, it was probably, for my guitar, maybe an 1/8 inch, or an 1/8 a turn. So when you get close, you really need to look at that feeler gauge and see what it's doing right in that area. That's the last critical part. And then I did go back and do some fine tuning as far as height adjustment on the bridge side, the action side, so that I could get all the buzzing to go away. So right now it plays great. So I would say give that a shot. The relief of the neck alone is not the story. Probably the worst thing is if your nut's too high. So that's it. That's how I set up my guitars. It's a combination of the nut, the action, and then the relief. So I hope this is helpful in setting up your guitar.